Alright, so we're going to talk about the worksheet that I gave you in class. I'm going to do it one more time just to make sure everybody's cool with what's going on. Alright, so it says here we have a quadratic equation given in standard form. Remember that this technically is a y, so if you want to put it in the calculator and look at it, you could. But anyway, to find the axis of symmetry, all we're going to do is we're going to do x equals minus b over 2a. And again, remember that this is a, this 3, this b is negative 6, and c is negative 9. So the opposite of b would be the opposite of negative 6 over 2 times 3. Whoops, come on. Alright, if we do clean that up, we're going to get that you get 6 over 6, which is equal to 1. Alright, so basically we have so x equals 1 is the answer to the problem. So because I don't have a lot of space, I'm going to erase that. So you might have to rewind it to see what's going on, but all of that's going to be equal to 1. So let me throw that in there. You can play back the video if you want to see again how it's done. Alright, so basically that's going to be 1. Alright, so the equation is just x equals 1. To state the coordinates of the vertex. Well, you already have the x coordinate. You just need the y coordinate. So what you can do is just put the 1 in here if you want, or you can go to the, table. Come on, table. X is here and y1's here. You could put the equation into y1 and go look up the number 1, and then you're going to get 12, I believe. I think that's 12. Or maybe it's negative 12. I don't know. Let me just double check real quick with my handy dandy calculator. Hold on a second. I'll be right back. Okay, it's actually equal to negative 12 when you look it up. So, whoops. Sometimes I just don't know how sensitive this thing can be. Alright, negative 12. Alright, so this should be negative 12 when you look it up. Okay, so it says write the equation, the quadratic equation in vertex form. That's just easy. We're going to do y equals, now, the first thing you want to put in is the a. Well, the a is the same a as in the standard form, so you put a 3, put a parenthesis, put an x. Now remember that this equation is written for y, not for x, so we do the opposite of what we see. So since we see a 1, we're going to put a negative 1 in, squared to make it a quadratic, and then the last thing we do is copy the y coordinate of the vertex, and we're done. That's all you had to do. Does this quadratic have a min or a max? Now, if you go look at the graph, it looks like it opens up. Kind of, sort of looks like, if you were to sketch it, kind of looks like that, kind of, sort of. But anyway, so this is your lowest point. Remember the vertex, when it opens up, the vertex is the lowest point, so that's your minimum. It's the minimum. Okay, what's the range of the function? Now remember, this point is 1 comma 12. So when they ask you about the function, they're asking you about y. So we're looking for y over here. So you want to pay attention to that number right there. So your range, if you notice, if that's the lower point, that means all of the y's that are up here, all the way up this graph and all the way up this graph, are all going to be bigger than 12. So your range is y is greater than or equal to 12. That shows that any number you pick is going to be 12 or bigger. Okay. Factor to find the solutions to it. First thing you want to do is to do GCF. So when you do that, you get this. Alright, and then you're going to do, remember, MA. So this is adds to be the middle, multiplies to be negative 3. So we're going to two factors that give us negative 3 are negative 3 and 1. Alright, and if I add these two numbers together here, I do get the negative 2. So it's good. Now it says factor to find the solution. So again, you said each factor equal to 0, or you can kind of think the vertex form kind of thing and set each one of these equal to 0. And when you solve these two, But you're going to get x is equal to 3 and x is equal to negative 1. Just to double check your answer, if you wanted to go look at the graphing calculator, if you put it right in there, you can, I think it's backwards, but oh no, it doesn't do it backwards. That's cool. You can see that it's negative 1 and 3 on the x-axis there. So you can see those answers as well. So you can double check your work, which is kind of cool that you can do that. All right, and the last thing is to graph it. So basically I'm just graphing what I have already. So I would graph my my 3, which is right here. I would graph my negative 1, which is here. And then unfortunately, I'm supposed to be putting in 1, negative 12, which is like off the page. But the idea, well, it keeps doing that every once in a while. The idea is it's right about here. All right, and then it kind of goes up. I'm really not very good at this tablet, but I try. Okay, wow, that's pretty ugly. But here you can see what it really looks like. Okay, let me tilt it that way. There we go. Okay, so that's what it looks like. In fact, this one you can't even see it on the screen, but just do the best you can. The most accurate pieces that I'm looking for is this piece and this piece because it says graph it and mark the roots. So the other thing you want to do too is I need a couple more points to make this a little bit more accurate. I go to my table, and if I go to my table, okay, where's my camera? There it is. Okay, we're going to look up those values, and if you notice, I can use those negative 9s there. So I'm going to do, what is that, 0, negative 9, which is right about here. Wow. 2, negative 9, and okay, so 2, negative 9 is about here. Why does it keep doing that? How annoying. Alright. That goes about here, and then the other one's a little bit more accurate. It's right about there. So I actually did a pretty good job with graphing that. But that's what you want to do. You want to use your table and get some couple points that, read a couple x's that are in between the ones you already graphed. So I picked 2, negative 9, and 0, negative 9, and I graphed it. Okay, I'll just make sure that on test that you can graph it all. So, all right, so that's the first page. So let's go on to the second page, if it'll let me. Okay. Okay, and this just keeps continuing. I just cut and pasted from the worksheet. So, all right, what are the 3 terms synonymous or equal to a synonym to roots? The answer to that are the solutions, the zeros, and the x-intercepts. Okay, so those all mean the same thing. What would the factors of the quadratic whose roots are 4 and negative 1? So again, you're just putting y equals, you're writing the opposites because again, you're writing for the equation for y, not for x. So you'd write these x's with their opposites of the number. Whoops, why did I just do that? I don't need that minus there. I would put down 1. Okay. Now it says I'm supposed to write the equation of the quadratic. Then what I would do now is I would just FOIL this. So if I FOILed it, I do this, then that, and then let me show you a different color. That one, and that one, and then when I combine like terms, I'm going to get this, and be done. That's the answer to the problem. Okay, and that's it for this this page. So let's go on to the next page. I got quite a few more pages. All right, write the quadratic equation whose zeros are x equals 5 and x equals negative 3. All right, same question. So I'm going to do x minus 5, write the opposite, x plus 3, write the opposite. So again, if you do FOIL, just for the sake of time, you're going to get x squared minus 2x minus 15. That's what you'll get when you FOIL that all out. It says what are the factors? So I'm actually, this question number 11 should actually go before question 10. But what are the factors of the quadratic equation whose x-intercepts? Remember, x-intercepts are the same thing as zeros. So you just put down here x minus 3/4 and x plus 1/2. Remember, you go opposites. And all you do now is you take your denominators that you have on your fractions and throw them in the front. That's all you're going to do with those. So keep it easy, keep it simple. All right, so your final answer is going to be 4x minus 3 times 2x plus 1. And that's going to be it. And then it just asks for the factor, so actually I don't even need this y equals. All right, and that would be it for that. And it says sketch the quadratic that has roots given in number 11. So I'm going to try to graph this, kind of a pain, but negative 1/2 is about there. Sometimes it doesn't let me do what I want it to do. And then my other point is at was it 3/4? So that's about there. Why that picture keeps doing that, I'm not quite sure, but alright, so that. And then again, I'm making a sketch, so I'm not going to be super. Sketches are nice because you don't really have to give me all the points. Alright, and that's it. That's all I'd be looking for here. Alright, so on the next problem, let's see what we got. Okay, this is solving by square roots. So square roots, again, you're kind of think of the the x squared term here. You're trying to picture that as an x term. So instead, think about how you would graph that normally. So you would just divide both sides by -5. Okay. And then you'll have x squared is equal to, what's that, 20? Okay, and then when you take this, once you get x squared by itself, you take the square root. And the answer to this is x equals, and remember, you're going to put a plus square root of 20 and a minus. There's always two answers automatically. And you're okay with leaving it like this. Okay? And you would really kind of, just for the sake of time here, you would do the same thing here. This is a two-stepper. You would subtract. Okay, wow, my pen's just not being fun with me today. Alright, then you divide by 3. So I'll give you this. And then you take the square root. So my answer is going to be x equals, remember, I'm going to write two things. This negative square root of 7 and the positive square root of 7. And that's it. You can leave it just like that. Again, the only time I expect you can cross this out. I'm not going to ask this on the test. Ask you to give me a square root that, don't leave it as a square root, is if you actually know that it's a perfect square root. Okay? On these, it says solve the equations. I don't care which way you solve them. You can solve them any way you want. You could factor them. You can put them in the calculator. You can do whatever you want. Factoring here would be pretty quick. All you do, since they are perfect squares, you just take what makes this squared. 4x squared is 2x and 2x. What makes this squared? 25 would be 5 and 5. And because you have a plus sign, each one of them takes a different sign. And then you just set those equal to 0. 2x plus 5 is equal to 0, and 2x minus 5 equals 0. And then solve both of those equations. You're going to get x is equal to 2.5 negative here, and this one will end up being the positive of it. You could also use square roots if you wanted to. Bring the 25 over, divide by 4, and take the square root. You could do that if you want, and you'll get the same answer. This one, if you see an x squared on x, remember, don't try to use square roots. The number 17 you can, because there is no middle term, but this one does have a middle term and has an x squared, an x, and a constant. So you got to get everybody to the same side. And this is probably your least favorite to do, because you have to factor, or you have to use your graphing calculator. And again, see your frame that you should have that tells you how to do the steps on how to do it on this calculator. I could try to show it, but your frame really does explain it really well. So you probably want to look at that. So anyway, so if you were to factor, you would get this as looking like the only way to get 3x squared is 3x and x. And the only way to get negative 2 is negative 2 and 1. And again, double check your inners and outers. That gives you negative 6. That gives you positive 1. So that's going to give you negative 5. And again, solve both of these just like I did over here on the left. If you do that, you're going to get negative 1/3 here, and x is equal to 2 there. So if you can factor, it's a lot faster. But you can use the calculator if you want. So you can just use the intersect key, and then again move your cursor over. So to each thing that you want. All right, and I think that I have one more left, right? Let's see. Yeah. Oh, whoops! Just jumped a page on me. Can I go backwards? It keeps on. Hold on a second. Okay, so I'm back, and this is just more solving equations and using the quadratic. So again, when you do that, make sure there's a 0 on the right side. So in this case, let me get this out of here because I need the space. All right. The 7 is the A. The B is the 28. And then in this case, C is nothing. Okay, there is no constant, so I don't have to worry about that. All right, so using the quadratic formula, which is, let me throw it down here, minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. I think I'm going to turn my, let's see. All right, so I'm going to do that. So I'm going to plug that into our formula down here at the bottom. So I'm going to do b minus b, so that's negative 28. Come on, pen. There we go. Plus or minus square root of 28 squared minus 4 times 7 times 0. Okay, so that's going to knock that out. All divided by 2a. Now, if you think about this, this is out of here. It's taking the square root of 28 squared. That's just 28. So we got negative 28 plus or minus 28, okay, all over 14, which is 2a. All right, negative 28, and then you have to do two problems. I'm going to have to erase this because I need the space, but you're going to do negative 28 plus 28 over 14, and then you're going to do negative 28 minus 28 over 14. Okay, this is going to give you negative 2, and this is going to give you 0. So those are your two answers. And again, you would do the same thing for each one of these. And I'll put up the answers so we can see how each one of them is done. But this thing is already running about 18 minutes, so you just want to make sure you can do each one of those. And I think this page I figured out is supposed to say factor right here because there's no equations. So just let you know that's missing. So I will again write out all the steps so you have them all on every page, but again, this is just a video to show how it's done. So that's it for this, and I will run another video for the sample test. Bye bye.